Hello and welcome back to the Thresher Football Show. I'm Dan Page alongside interim head coach at Bethel Football, Dalen Markham, as the Threshers are off a 13-0 victory in their first game of the 2024 season and had their sights set on their first home contest of the year with St. Mary coming to town. But first, Coach, that Sterling game, you really saw the strength in your defense, which has kind of been a storyline in this program for the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, it was a good game, man. We didn't expect them to shut them out. It's quicker they had a decent game plan against us, but man, our guys just came out and hit them in the mouth every play, and then we ended with a shutout. So it was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, definitely living up to the standard set in place by their predecessors on the defensive side of the football. The offensive side of things, there were some complications a little bit with playing on that grass surface. Now, it won't be the only time you guys play on grass this year. I don't know if people know that or not, but later at the Friends game.
That's grass?
At the baseball stadium.
Oh, gosh. I didn't know that.
But it's better.
Yeah, hopefully it's better, yeah.
It'll be shorter and a little bit easier to cut. And,
yeah.
I mean, professionally maintained in a minor league baseball stadium. So that's interesting news. Not a lot of people know that, actually. So breaking news, when Bethel plays Friends later in the year, it won't be at Friends University. It'll be just to the east at the Riverfront Stadium ballpark. So pretty cool thing.
Yep, we're excited for that one.
Yeah, so that's later down the road. So, people learn stuff in this show. I mean, who would have thought?
News to me.
I saw a guy commented on Facebook that he said, very informative. we try to be.
Yeah, we do. We try.
we try to give you some information there the best we can. But Bethel getting the 13-0 victory. Before we just kind of analyze it and everything, it really felt like your offense probably should have had 3 more touchdowns in the game.
Yeah, we were trying to get punches in there. We got stopped 4th and short a couple of times. One time on the 1 yard line. So just always tough when that happens. You got to execute better when down in the red zone. That's a key part of the game. The red zone, got to win that battle. But fortunately, we came out. We had 13 points and they didn't. So that's the main thing about it. So
yeah, I mean, you score in the second quarter? Yeah, it was scoreless through 1.
Yeah,
and DJ had a great move, great adjustment. Defense pursued the strong side of the field. He cut back to the left side, weak side, and took it in at the pylon for the touchdown. And Bethel was up 7-0 at halftime. But yes, like we said, they marched inside the red zone several times. And I know that a lot of coaches, they want to be bold that first game and go in and trust their guys and everything to get that touchdown. So I don't blame you guys whatsoever for that decision.
Yeah, and we were moving it up and down and at will at some point. So just might as well go through it. And our defense is playing so good. So it's just like, if y'all don't get it, we got y'all back. And then
right. I mean, and with what Toriano did in the rushing game, what Torrey did in the rushing game, who can blame you for making those decisions whatsoever? So, nonetheless, the Threshers get the 13-0 victory. That last touchdown came in the 4th quarter for the Threshers, and Torrey Curry scoring his first college touchdown, believe it or not, played at Southern Nazarene, and I asked Coach Tiz a little bit about him because he kind of came over at the same time. So,
yeah.
But it's kind of a good moment for Curry right now, kind of working his way. He and Toriano Richardson in the backfield for you guys, which is tons of new faces or guys that have been just waiting in the wings of this program, got their opportunity this first game, and we'll go through that in the statistics in just a bit. But scoring with 1:54 left to get that last one, and a 13-0 victory. And a shutout for the Thresher defense to start the year. Kind of looking at the individual numbers, DJ Sears completed 11 of 22 passes for 111 yards and an interception, was sacked once. And in the ground game, Toriano Richardson making his debut, 22 carries for 143 yards, and you would have thought he would have had 3 touchdowns along with that. But
he should have.
You know, he was one of the marquee backs in the NAIA with those statistics this opening week. And then Torrey Curry, 13 carries for 62 yards, no losses, and along of 17. DJ Sears, 15 carries for 33 net yards and a touchdown for the Threshers in the ground game. Receiving wise, this was what everybody was kind of curious about. For those that watched, Trayvon Madison did not play in the opening game. That's off the field circumstances from what I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something, you know, if you can't control something, you can only control what you can control.
Exactly.
And in that scenario, but a couple guys stepping up big for you guys. Corey Catron, 5 catches for 47 yards and a long one of 21. And Josiah Buller, both Kansas guys. Mm-hmm. Buller with 3 catches for 44 yards, and the receiving core for you guys on last Saturday. So those 2 guys stepping up in big moments. I believe even one time Cody Baxter was in the receiving game for you guys, so that was big for him. You know, with the blitz coming at you.
Yeah, I think that was the first ever college reception. So shout out Cody Baxter right there.
Yeah, well, I remember a couple of years ago he had a kickoff return for touchdown against St. Mary. So that'll be something he'll always hang his hat on, I'm sure.
He's full of surprises for sure.
But nonetheless, the Threshers get the victory in those statistics. We'll go through the defensive numbers. Noah Miller had a great game, 5 solo tackles, ended up with 9 overall and 2 for loss and an interception. He was just a menace.
He was a menace. And he also had a sack. They got to give him a sack, man. They cheated him on a sack. So he had a great game. His first career game starting at Bethel, had on defense. So he flew around, was what we expected out of him every week. So we're excited to have him on our side.
I mean, when you have Miller and Siebold in the linebacking core, doesn't matter which ones they are, you kind of have to step into those shoes a little bit.
So, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I know Coach Cato will like that. Colton McCarty, a big game for him, 8 tackles for the Threshers and nearly 3 for loss and a sack. He just got his big opportunity there.
He took full advantage of it. He also had 2 sacks. They got to give him his stats right. Come on, Coach Jared, we need his stats right. But yeah, he played a little bit last year. We knew he would take that big jump for his last year. And man, we're excited that he's on our side as well. Like Coach Mike gets some boys right, and then they get after the quarterback well.
Yeah, he definitely had a breakout game and a good confidence booster in week 1. Jared Gibbons getting the start for the Threshers. At the linebacking core, he had 4 tackles and really did a good job. Yeah, he's just a strong guy, but really smart as well.
Yeah, he's very strong in the weight room, and he's very strong. He's an author. He's actually an author. He's written actually 3 books there, and I'm working on 4 or 5, I believe. So he's smart on and off the field, and man, he's just one of those guys we can just count on all the time. So.
Yeah, Jared Gibbons is the name. Go look it up. I can't remember what his social media handle is, but it's very distinct.
Yeah, I think so. Something weird.
I'm sure that he has a better word for that.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so now some of these statistics were a little blurred. Welcome to KCAC football, NAIA level. You know, you have guys that are attributed for stats that didn't play on that side of the football. So I guess we can add Rod's stats. Although they had Kenyon McMillan on defense.
Yes, they got the same number, so.
Yeah. Well, some people aren't used to that double numbers system, and in fact, it burned you guys with a penalty on special teams.
Yeah, I guess we're not too familiar with it either, because we had 2 number 12s on the field at the same time and actually caught it. So, yeah, we got to get that fixed for this next week.
Yeah, and I know that you guys were aware that on a different phase, you know, when Corey and Colton were in the game together, both number 5.
Yeah.
So just being aware of that too. So yeah. I know I saw you guys do it in walkthrough at least. Yeah. So and then Robert Neely ended up with 3 tackles. He has fun out there. I mean, you know, he also had a pass breakup that wasn't listed there. I had it on film. So
yeah.
But, man, your DBs, your defense just got, you know, worked with penalties. Some of them, you know.
A little questionable.
Yeah. So it was just like, are you kidding me? And, I happened to be near the Sterling sideline, so there was a little bit of advocating there all game long.
Always for those, always.
Tate Siebold ends up with 3 tackles. Should have had 1 for loss. I have the video footage of it.
Yeah.
Frank Driscoll with 3, Earn with 3, and 2 for a loss. And just thinking about other things, Reese Bennett did well for you guys, getting in the backfield, getting some good pressure as well.
He had his first career sack against Sterling too, so shout out Reese.
Yep, and he was definitely fired up with that and had good support on hand for the football game. So glad to see him getting that opportunity because, I think when he first started out here, he was on the O-line and then switched to D-line a couple years ago.
Yeah, he started at O-line, surprisingly, and then moved to D-line and took advantage of it, and then now he's starting for us, so it comes full circle. Yeah, definitely.
One of the things that we know from this level of athletics in general is your juniors and seniors that win you games in this scenario, and he's been a guy since day one here, so really stepping forth. And then kind of the special teams, Mateo, his first college football game, he had never kicked on grass before. And there's so many things, missing a PAT, missing some field goals. I mean, it's just first probably college game jitters by anything, because he goes into the JV game the other day and makes 3 out of 4 on PAT. So
exactly.
It's not like it's a huge concern for you, is it?
No, it's just grass, first game jitters. So he came to me after the game. He's like, promised me, coach, like this will never happen again. So he knew he'll do better. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Absolutely. And so the Threshers getting the victory 13-0. Specific stats on Sterling's side on offense. Bethel held them to 13 yards rushing, 13 yards, and 70 yards through the air. So the defense doing a good job against multiple different quarterback looks that they had, and it was, I'm just going to make an observation here, but it really looked like their quarterback did not want to run the football, no matter who it was. Your defense was coming with heat.
Yeah, they were pursuing relentless. That's what we teach every day: run to and through the ball, and then they started tiptoeing and kind of falling down before we got there. So that's what we love to see: make them tap out, make them quit.
And did I miss anything from kind of that analysis for the football game, Coach, without getting into too much detail?
No, I don't think so. It was just pretty straightforward game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys would be like, we've been here before. We know exactly what to do, in this scenario. And what I always like about this program is you can, anywhere you go, your opponent before the game is hooping and hollering and warm-ups, but our guys are always locked in, focused.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not necessarily about all the other stuff. If you have to do that to be excited to play the game of football, then, I mean...
You really don't want to play. You're yelling for no reason.
Right. I mean, you enjoy it and everything like that, but make a play first.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, I mean, that's not a criticism. That's just a coaching moment, I guess, if anything. So, let's recap some of the scores from the first week of KCAC football. And there was one afternoon game, and it was a good one between Bethany and Avila up in Kansas City. You're wondering why it was an afternoon game. Avila does not have nighttime lights in their facility, but they pull off the victory 24-21. It was 7-7 going into the fourth quarter.
Dang.
And both quarterbacks for each team managed to throw for 200 yards. And the Eagles, despite Bethany having chances on final 2 drives in the fourth quarter, the Swedes coming up a little bit empty as Avila holds on to the home season opening victory. Over in Hillsboro, kind of an interesting game. Tabor beats McPherson 20-10. McPherson was a team that, has been a very good team in the conference last year in the division as well. A well-coached team, but Tabor definitely showing their strength early.
Yeah, that was a surprising game for me, at least.
And Coach Gardner has his crew ready to go. And, this could be a big year for the Blue Jays. You never know in the Bethel division. Of course, that'll be in the latter half of the conference schedule. In Leavenworth, St. Mary falls at home 52-6 against Friends. And we'll talk about the Spires coming up here on the latter part of our program. Southwestern just goes out and smashes Ottawa up at Ottawa 41-0, making a statement that, hey, they haven't, taken a step down or anything. They just reloaded.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that was a good. I watched the film, and the Southwestern just ran all over them, so that should be a good game later on in the year. Yeah,
and Ottawa last year kind of had a slow start, but once they got to, week 3 of all games, they got a little momentum back for them and played well in the division. And the final game was a 7 o'clock kick from Salina, and that was Evangel at Kansas Wesleyan. A really good game, and Evangel with some new personnel getting the victory 35-24 against the Coyotes. And, I was thinking to myself, maybe I thought it would be a closer game than that, but Evangel is just such a good team, good program, well coached. They went on the road and took care of business.
Yep, that's what they do. So,
for them, every game is a really serious, long road game.
Yeah,
so,
for real.
If you think about it, when they go on the road.
Yeah.
So, just a routine stop on here for the Valor as they open up the season with victories. So, breaking down the divisions, as the Kessinger to win division wins all but 2 contests in the opening week. The Bethel had Avila and Tabor with victories in week 0, technically, and the game number 1 of the season for the conference. Kind of looking at some things for this coming week. Of course, Bethel College hosting St. Mary, and it'll be a 6 o'clock kick from Thresher Stadium here in North Newton, and you can either attend it yourself or watch online at the KCAC network. I'll have the call here from Thresher Stadium in my sixth year of doing Thresher football, and glad to do it. And game day at home is always something I look forward to. I'll be honest with you, I even have superstitions to the fact that when you've seen 3 of 5 years when you win a conference championship and all winning seasons, it's just like you keep doing the same things over and over.
Gotta stick to the routine.
And it should be a good contest as St. Mary comes to town. But let's look at some of the other games on tap for this week's conference schedule. I don't know if all of these times are correct, so I'll just say the matchups. Southwestern will be hosting Avila this coming week. Last year was I think either last year or the year before. I think it was the year before. It was a really good contest. Went right down to the wire. Avila had a chance to win, but Southwestern pulled it out in that game 2 years ago. And Bethany is hosting Kansas Wesleyan, so the Swedes return home, and they have a very tough opponent. And nearby Kansas Wesleyan, McPherson and Sterling will go at it after both teams record opening week losses. So that'll be in McPherson. And Ottawa will head to Wichita to take on Friends. So, they're looking to score points if possible in that one against the Falcons. And rounding out the conference schedule, Evangel hosting Tabor, and that is in Nixa, Missouri. The Blue Jays going on the road just to kind of see what they're really worth. I think that's the game I'm going to keep my eye on the most.
Yeah.
Because last year was such a close one in Hillsboro, and Tabor's feeling pretty good about themselves, so it could very well be the same thing.
Yeah, it could be a good game for sure.
Wasn't it like 14-7 or something like that last year?
It was very close. So.
Yeah, it was a very good contest last year in Hillsboro. But nonetheless, this week, Bethel College takes on the University of St. Mary Spires. And we mentioned it last week how St. Mary had multiple picks in the preseason all division selections for the Bissell division. Eric Covington, the quarterback, the junior from Aurora, Colorado, he's listed. Michael Gazana, a sophomore receiver. And then R.J. Webster at running back. R.J. Smith on the offensive line. And looking at the defensive side of the football, Josh Insera is listed at defensive line, preseason all-division honors. And in special teams, their punter Vincent McTeague from Nevada, all getting preseason divisional recognition. And after last week's performance, at least for the offense, well, I guess for the defense as well, and that contest against Friends, they have, they're probably hitting the reset button pretty quick, I would imagine.
Yeah, Friends is always a tough opponent. They do weird stuff on both sides of the ball, so I'm excited to see what they do against us this upcoming week. Just to face kind of a traditional team as in Bethel. So they have good players, good athletes, good O-line, good D-line, so it should be a battle.
Yeah, remembering last year's St. Mary game, you guys had a strong first half, defensively especially, got two or three touchdowns in the first half, and maybe it was 21-3 or something like that at the halftime. And then St. Mary really started doing some things late with the football, but turnovers ended up getting them in that case, and then DJ Sears just went off.
Yeah, he ran all over.
It was one of those things, where he was just being himself, but I still remember that impromptu 66-yard rushing touchdown he had against the Spires last year on a busted pass play, took it to the house. So that's kind of looking at things. As far as St. Mary goes, it's interesting. They were in the top 2 in their division last year in passing and rushing and points scored. Yeah. So, they're not a bad team by any means. Yeah. So, starting the way they did in last week's game at home against Friends, they'll definitely be irritated by that coming here to take on your guys' team. But it's been a while since this program has lost to St. Mary. But it should be an interesting thing to see what you guys can do. And, of course, I was thinking about last week's game. We compared Sterling game this year for DJ Sears versus last year, and I was thinking maybe the turf is the difference because he was so much faster in open field. He could make his adjustments easier. There were times this past game where he was breaking 4 tackles just to get a yard downfield. Yeah. And in moments like that, the defense was very well educated on what to do, of course. Yeah, for real. And you saw it on film. I'm sure everybody else will as well. But, it's something that, you have to make that adjustment to. Now that you played a game, it's not like you go into these things blindly. Yeah. But the job gets tougher and tougher, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Especially week by week, they get more film on you, so they kind of take some tendencies of what they did last year and what the team previous did. So Coach Den and his staff got a good plan coming up for this weekend, so I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of those things with penalties in the first game, it's not really something you can necessarily control, but there was some things you guys definitely could control. Yeah. Some extracurricular activity at least 3 different times.
Yeah, definitely.
Where it's like, oh no, we're not doing this again like you did last year, being one of the most penalized teams in the nation.
Yeah, so we'll get better at that. Hopefully this week is way better. We kind of talked to the team about that, so it'll be better this week.
And there we go. So let's look at St. Mary and Bethel. Spires in that first game of the season. Covington threw for 219 against Friends. So, and they only scored 6 points, and that was in the opening quarter on a 65-yard touchdown pass on a drive that lasted a minute and a half. So they can score like that if they need to.
They got the weapons for sure.
They certainly do. And, it's a lot of times when you're playing a flex-bone team, they take a lot of the clock away from you. And not only that, but they just, St. Mary the last few years has really struggled against the flex-bone as far as I've been covering this level of college football. And so it was something that really kind of continued from years past. Excuse me. All right, and so looking at some other things, in the ground game, your leading rusher with 22 yards, R.J. Webster, in that scenario. But Gazana, 128 yards receiving in the opening contest against the Falcons. It's interesting because really the only thing in the ground game for St. Mary was Covington, losing, negative 39 yards, got all that pressure. Yeah. So, obviously they're going to think teams are going to try to continue to do that against them. And nonetheless, you guys are pretty adaptable in where you can bring the heat.
Yeah, so Yeah, we got some plans for Eric, Mr. Covington. He's a good scrambler, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So he can scramble, he can make all the throws. So we got to be prepared for that.
And it looks like a good skill suit of receivers. We mentioned Gazana, 4 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown, a 65-yarder. Julian Bishop, 3 catches for 50 yards, and 3 other guys who had 2 catches for double digits as well. So I mean that's another thing to keep in the back of your mind when you're taking on St. Mary. And then looking at the defense for the Spires, Jackson Curtis ended up with 8 tackles, Hunter Hendrick with 8 in the season opener. And outside of that, Michael Graham with 4 tackles, Timothy Newton with 4, and Isaiah Guizar with 4 tackles for the Spires in that football game. And they forced a couple fumbles. Of course, I mean, that's kind of typical sometimes when you face a team that runs it as much as the Falcons do. In fact, they ran the ball 51 times for 464 yards. So you might tell Toriano that, about that seems to be the strength, no matter what the personnel has been for Bethel College football, the ground game. And one of the things I really liked that was kind of a mainstay for your team in the first week against Sterling was the downfield blocking. You had some great receivers blocking downfield, and one of the things, everybody that ran the football, whether it was handed to them or caught it, it's like their legs had a different kind of motor, kept pumping and pumping and pumping, and to get downfield. Toriano was the case. Torrey was the case. I was trying to remember who else did that.
Corey,
yep.
Josiah, Brady, those guys they run hard. They run downhill. They falling for it for sure. Yeah,
and it's really something that all those inches make a difference in the game of football, of course. And it was a big thing that will continue to be something I'm sure they will do for the rest of the season. I know some of them are a little banged up coming into the season.
Yeah.
So a little bit frustrated with that, but despite that, they looked past it and they just played great. So nonetheless, excited to see what they do for the remainder of the year. Well, Coach, I guess talking about St. Mary a little bit, kind of straightforward and what they kind of bring to it. I mean, as far as, you mentioned his scrambling and his passing ability at quarterback, but what is it about their offense that they're really trying to accomplish, I feel like?
I feel like they want to run the ball kind of and then set up the deep passes. They send number 7 on a lot of seams and stuff, trying to give him a chance to go make a play. And he did that against us last year. I think he scored twice on us last year. So he's very talented, very fast. So just got to be ready to take care of him and trying to stop the run game.
And a lot of testing your DBs. I mean, that's every level of the football. But any way that they can mix things up for you guys and cause havoc with their route running.
Yeah. So they do a lot of motion and play action type stuff. So our eyes got to be DBs got to be disciplined with their eyes. Gonna be guessing and stuff. Just being patient, let the play sort out, and then just fly around and make a play.
And then on offense, a lot of the time, it's just not getting in the way of yourself in those scenarios. I thought the O-line did a good job of being disciplined. You didn't have any false starts, from what I remember at least. Yeah. And there might have been a lineman downfield maybe once, if that. Yeah. I mean, that's all I can remember, and I don't even know if that's accurate, but but I thought they did well. Sterling was continuing to bring the heat based on film they've seen last year against your offense, and how they handled that. And everybody knows where they can improve. Yeah. And I mean, it's just that constant exposure to it. Technically just helps out.
Yeah. So on the bus ride back from the game, a couple of linemen was like, "Man, Coach, I need to work on this week. And I need to do this. I need to do that." So they're all self-aware. They know we need to get better at each and every day. So this week of practice has been pretty good. We've been eyeing those key things we need to work on and get better at. So hopefully you have a better showing this weekend.
Yeah, and there's some moments where you guys, had some opportunities, just some missed opportunities. I mean, you had that a lot of games necessarily, but not like a plague or anything. Yeah. But you have a wide open receiver out of the slot or something, he catches it, it's a first down kind of a thing. everything. And because of that play, might have halted a drive. And that's not putting pressure on anybody from my vantage point. It's just, you got to figure out how to do those things the right way.
Yep.
And, take care of your teammates more than anything.
Yeah, for real.
It's kind of like what you're talking about in your pregame speech. You're saying, look around at everybody here, play your best for that person, for this person. I feel like that's something that we don't necessarily think about. We always think about, okay, we have to put ourselves in the right position to do things, but we have to also, be there for our teammates. So say something, they get in a situation where their guy gets past them and you don't have anybody that you're blocking, you got to go take that guy in that scenario. So
have each other's back for sure.
So a lot of kind of X's and O's kind of talk there for a second. They say coach speak kind of flies over the heads of people that are not necessarily ingrained with the game. But I tell you what, if you really want to be a student of it, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, definitely, yep.
Yeah, I saw that in camp kind of from the perspective of your new guys and looking at signals and things like that and just where everybody has to be, what you need to look for.
Yeah.
Tendencies, and as you guys were installing that slowly, little by little. Again, the Bethel Threshers taking on the St. Mary Spires this week from Thresher Stadium. It's at 6 p.m. and you can watch it on the KCAC network, or if you're want to make the trip to North Newton, you have pretty much a lot of the day to do so. It's a 6 o'clock kick. Got to enjoy these 6 o'clock kicks when it's nice out, and then towards the more chilly temperatures in the latter part of the season. If you're new to this, it'll be afternoon kicks for the most part in the KCAC schedule. All right. Well, Coach, I'm running out of things to talk about here for this this first game. It's a first game at home. A lot of expectations of, with the fan base. Always a great crowd at Thresher Stadium. And, what are you looking forward to the most?
I'm just looking to see the stands packed, the crowd's going crazy, and just coming on top is the plan. So we'll hopefully have a good day of practice tomorrow. The stands will be filled on Saturday, and then just the environment and the community coming out and supporting. That's what I'm really looking forward to the most. So can't wait for Saturday.
Absolutely, Coach. Yeah, I remember the bad weather game at home last year where everybody, all the other sports teams were gone. Yeah. And it was just basically parents in the crowd. Yeah. Or they were trying to watch the game from the parking lot, so I was told at the time. And, it was one of those things where it didn't quite feel like a Thresher home game, and that was supposed to be senior day as well. So that kind of it was a rough day. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah. But nonetheless, got to really appreciate and be grateful for what should be a really nice day, really good weather for the opening game in the season, and hopefully a packed Thresher Stadium. I always love it when I look out and the grass, people have to park in the grass because the lot is completely full. So that's really awesome. When we've had those home games in the past where it's been like that, it's just been an amazing environment where every single play is a big thing.
Exactly. So you got to love it. You got to take advantage of what you can.
Yes, you do. All right. Well, Coach, that's going to do it for our second show of the season, the 2024 campaign. Again, it's the Threshers and the St. Mary Spires this week. And then the following week, the Threshers hit the road to Ottawa. And that should be a really good contest as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on how the Braves do here this second week of the conference season. It's still technically week one in the NAIA football ranks. But for a final time here on this show, for Coach Dalen Markham, I'm Dan Page, telling you to roll on.